this video, we're going to talk strategy in DFS on DraftKings, games to target, how to stack, what stacking is, how to leverage, as well as what games to target, and then basic fundamentals that I think everybody should know to help take home that win. Today, we're going to be spotlighting DraftKings' new gameplay, which is the Reignmakers, and entering into the VeeFriends X DraftKings League, where the first place takes home a Series 1 VeeFriends Gratitude Gorilla. I'm shocked that there's not too many entries in this contest with it being unlimited cap. I think there's about 3,000 people in this entry so far. And if you were just doing this for the flip, for the top prize, you can flip that token on OpenSea or any marketplace for at least 20 ETH to 30 ETH. So people need to hop on this. I've been playing DFS for quite some time. Shout out to the DFS army. Shout out to Osimo. Shout out to Al Smizzle. I've been watching their content, Sal, over the years, and now I figure I do my own content since I have my own show going on. So without squirrel ado, my name is Malo, and I'll be your host for today's episode of BitmonkeyTV's DFS strategy. So let's get straight into it. This is a different type of gameplay. So first, I'd like to talk about what DraftKings Reignmakers is and how to play. I'll do a quick explainer, but please keep in mind that this video is more about strategy. If you're watching this, I'm under the assumption that you already know how to play. So I want to talk more fundamentals. I want to talk more strategy. I want to overview the games, look over Vegas lines, look over the odds for certain players to score accordingly. And take a look at certain game scripts, certain scenarios that I think could happen. I went ahead and acquired quite a few cards so that we can play with different lineups. And I'm just going to construct different lineups. And if you have any questions, please do drop a comment below. What's up, Zen? I appreciate you. Hey, let's go. Who you got on the final today? All right. So first, before we start looking at anything, I want to look at game totals. I want to look at what is Vegas predicting. Now, DraftKings does have a built-in sportsbook, which is pretty sweet. So you can just go tap on your sportsbook up here from Reignmakers and go down here to NFL along the left-hand bar. And we're going to see the games for tomorrow. Now, can you not? I don't know if you can organize this. So what we'll do is we'll just browse through. So Baltimore at New York. Baltimore are 6.5 points favorite. 6.5 point favorites. 44 point total. Okay. This is an interesting game, and I will say there's a term chalky that you'll get familiar with, but when there's chalk, it's generally popular. A lot of people are going to be playing a certain player or that game. Now, Reignmakers may be a little bit different. People may target more where are those two games? Those two spotlight games, the Raiders and Chargers, and then the Chiefs and Cardinals. I have a feeling those in the Reignmaker will be the primary, except for Derek Carr. I think he'll fly under the radar. And I'm basing off of research for week 1 DFS, what ownerships look like. But you would imagine that a lot of the sharp players are coming over and applying the same strategy to Reignmakers, right? So certain games that I want to target, that I think you should target, that are very smart to target, are these that Vegas are predicting to be high-scoring affairs. So this 52.5 point total, where Las Vegas are road underdogs by 3.5 points. Possible shootout there. I've seen those games go both ways if you've been watching the NFL, for quite some time. And if you go look back on game logs, Derek Carr hasn't done the best in LA. So, but that could change. It could be fresh on his mind. Now, Green Bay and Minnesota is an interesting one. I love seeing it when there's only a 1 point spread. This generally means Vegas doesn't know who's really more favored. And this is shocking to me, but also it's not. because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers with or without Devontae Adams. We did get news that Allen Lazard is doubtful to out. So that brings clarity. You don't have to wait until last minute swaps to make certain decisions. Now, in your weekly DFS, that firmly puts, especially into GPPs, that firmly puts certain receivers there into play that nobody's going to own. But with DraftKings Reignmakers, I wouldn't go chasing those types of receivers, because one of the biggest differences between Reignmakers and the week-to-week is the slots. You only have 5 slots here to play with. You don't have to play a tight end, but you do have the option to play a tight end. And then there are no defenses here. So no 2 running backs, no 3 wide receivers, smaller roster, right? So you only have to put together 5 cards. So I think this is a far different approach. I think stacking here is very important. Leverage is very important. And conviction plays, following your gut on certain calls that you think will play in your favor, you think will go down how you envision. So I'm going to move over. I wanted to show the DraftKings one first, but I prefer looking at this one. Much more visual, shows me full width here, and I can organize these columns here. So I'm going to go by highest game point, right? And this does include, it looks like, Thursday slate. Let's see, we should be able to toggle those out. Okay, they should be gone. So as we saw in DraftKings, Kansas City, Arizona up top, Raiders, Chargers, Philly, Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota. Now, one thing I love to look at, especially on Saturdays and Sunday morning, is this line movement. This is trending, opened up at 46.5, which I paid attention to, and I was shocked to see this. It's moving up, and rightfully so. Now, this game could surprise a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to be on Jalen Hurts, but when it comes to Reignmakers, they may very well go with a Herbert, a Kyler Murray, because he's not a superstar there, or a Patrick Mahomes, but then you sacrifice that superstar. So I realized we went straight into Vegas lines without really talking about how to play. So the requirements here, this is a core contest. So if you enter in a legendary, a rare, or any other high valued rarity, it'll just treat it as a core. But they all have these badges, these little stars. You can only add 1 star to your roster, 1 superstar. They didn't classify everybody's superstars. There's some standouts that I'm shocked, like Kyler Murray is not a superstar. Joe Burrow should be a superstar. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, that's a bit shocking. Especially in this format on DraftKings. This is point per reception. This is PPR. So if they're slot receivers like Deontay Johnson, yes, I believe Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback there this year. We'll see how he does, but maybe he just feeds him and his tight end the ball and dumps off to Najee Harris. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Some shockers, right? And then Travis Kelce was another one. He's not a superstar here. So you can find opportunities. Now, just looking at Vegas lines, I really want to build. I want players from these 3 games, possibly this game down here too. And I'm just going to exclude all the other games, if I'm being honest, because of the format. There's less chances to take risks on certain players, right? You don't have to deal with a salary. That's another big difference. Now, you do have to pay for the card if you don't own it on the secondary market, or pull a card from the packs through the shop. So that does cost you money. But when it comes to constructing your lineup, there's no assigned salary. So you can mix and match and fit them as you see fit. The only asterisk here is the superstar. You can only have 1 superstar per lineup. So let's just start playing with this. I want to start off with QB. Patrick Mahomes, let's show my cards only. Show you what I got. So I'm between Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Kirk Cousins is an interesting thought. Derek Carr. Jared Goff, I believe I got that through a pack. But I just don't think he's going to be the top 5 QB of this week. But you never know. I mean, it is any given Sunday here. But like, thinking leverage in mind, I like going Jalen Hurts here. I think he's going to be slightly less owned than a Kyler Murray, because people are going to see that and think that that's the steal and bring it back with Kelsey. Now, Kelsey's a great play, don't get me wrong, but I may avoid using tight ends altogether. I may go with a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver split here. So I'm going to do Jalen Hurts, and I like to stack. I like correlation with his old friend and new best friend, AJ Brown. Now, I don't want to put him in that slot. Let's just put him right there. Now, do I want to bring it back with anybody? Probably not, because we don't have as many options here. If this was a full week slate and I had a full roster to play with, then yeah, generally I would bring it back with a TJ Hawkinson, or maybe DeAndre Swift, or a St. Brown, or even a Josh Reynolds, which I'm going to say right now might win some GPP lineups just randomly once this year. I don't know. Jared Goff and him go back to Los Angeles. That new receiver Williams is out for the first 4 weeks, so he might make a splash with some deep balls, assuming the game script favors that type of gameplay, right? So a lot of this is week 1 is a lot of gambling. You don't know the usage. You really don't know. You don't have a sample size of what coaches, of how they're running their team. So you don't know what the snap counts look like. So week 1 is definitely more of a gamble than any of the other weeks. It really sets the tone and also creates some opportunities for teams that you know are good that may underperform week 1 to then come in week 2 and take full advantage of that. So let's continue this build here. Let's go to running backs. We have Jonathan Taylor. Do I want to use my first superstar on a running back? We'll see. Christian McCaffrey is going to be very... So this is interesting. He's going to be chalky, rightfully so. Now, Baker Mayfield is going up against his old team. I'm not sure if that means anything. He's at home in Carolina. I think there's a better move here. Alvin Kamara, I was shocked. AK was not superstar. I don't get it. Can DraftKings like change this along the way? Dalvin Cook is an interesting play this week, as well as James Conner. So James Conner, I think, is going to be my pick. And here's why. Kyler Murray doesn't have all of his weapons. He's got some new weapons. He's got AJ Green. I wouldn't play AJ Green in a Reignmakers. I mean, by all means do you, but that's just not how I would play it. But from the perspective of a team trying to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands as long as possible, I think running the ball, establishing the run, and James Conner being their lead back, being that secret, that key. And I think he's not going to be as owned as people project him to. And I'm not sure what his ownership looks like in week 1 DFS, but pretty sure it's a sharp play. I'm going to roll with it. Now, the question is, do I want to play Kelsey or not? I think that a lot of people see what I see. They see a whole bunch of new weapons. They see Kelsey not a superstar. Like, what is going on? And they're going to play him. I don't know. Arizona's defense is not bad. I'm not saying they can shut out Mahomes, but what they can do is sacrifice certain parts of the field to take Kelsey out of the game plan. If they do that, Mahomes is either having a very good game with other pass catchers, or it's a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game, which I'm not going to touch that. So I want to stay away from this because I'm going for the W. I don't want to try to pick what everybody else is picking. So Davante Adams, let's talk about him. He's now with Derek Carr, his old college buddy from Fresno State. If that means anything to you, great. If it doesn't, the theme these past few years, when a wide receiver changes teams, especially after they request that they're unhappy and they want to be relocated, I don't know, man. I'm excited for this one, but the Chargers defense could very well contain him and plan to take him out of the game plan. So then that could turn into a Hunter Renfrow day, and then Darren Waller's there. His from what I understand, there's no holdback on his contract. He's coming, he's going ham. So, and I bet he's gonna try to play as well as he can this year to make sure that next contract is in his favor, right? But I really like this call, right? Because this game total, they're underdogs on the road. You would imagine they'll be throwing a lot. They're not going to establish the run unless they get that lead, right? And Josh Jacobs, he could be a sleeper this week. Nobody's talking about him. He could easily punch in 2 or 3 touchdowns. We don't know. We don't know. Week 1's a gamble. I'm just kind of sharing my thought process, and I really like this game script. I really like in San Diego. Well, I guess LA now, but I don't know, man. I'm not saying that, like, I hope Derek Carr has a good day, because I know a lot of people are going to be playing him, and I'm going to be playing him on week 1 DFS, but I don't know. It feels like a Davante Adams game as far as like top 5 wide receivers of the week. So I'm going to roll with that. I like that. So that was my first superstar, though. So that was actually a tough decision. So now I can't put it in Eckler like I was kind of thinking of doing. But I could bring it back and maybe do a Kamara. That's another running back, because I was thinking of doing the dual running back. Or I could go for the kill here. Now, wide receivers generally have higher ceilings than running backs, depending on the running back. And depending on the game too, right? So Mike Williams, he's a touchdown threat. Keenan Allen, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, and I'm sure he'll score a good chunk of points. But Mike Williams is an interesting thought here. And what you see happening here, so James Conner's solo. There's nobody running back from a correlation with Kansas City. However, this Davante Adams, I'm running a wide receiver on opposite teams, right? So I'm going with the mindset here that, all right, Jalen Hurts is about to do his thing with A.J. Brown. And all I'm hoping for is Detroit to keep it competitive enough for Jalen Hurts to get at least 3 passing touchdowns, maybe 40 rushing yards, punch one in with his feet, and throw 2 of those to A.J. Brown with another 100 yards to him. That's possible. But Detroit needs to keep up, right? Now, this Davante Adams, Mike Williams, like, Justin Herbert could easily outscore Hurts, but like, I want to be different than other people. And I have a feeling that that game is just going to be very popular for people to pick cards from, or Kyler Murray. So I'm kind of leveraging away from Kyler Murray by using James Conner, because history shows Kyler Murray generally doesn't have that ceiling, that winning in DFS sports, at least, score if they establish the run and James Conner is eating up those tutties, right? But on the other hand, Kyler Murray can just as easily steal tutties away from James Conner. It's actually annoying. It's well known. So this is a risk, right? Because if he sees a lane, he's going to punch that in himself, just like Jalen Hurts would, just like Lamar Jackson would, just like Patrick Mahomes would, right? These different styles of running quarterbacks. Something doesn't feel right about this lineup, but this is where I'm at right now. But let's start playing with different scenarios. Let's get away from the idea of getting away from Kyler Murray. Let's play him. Now, Rondale Moore is out, one of his most familiar receivers aside from AJ Green. So that leaves in Marquise Brown, which is his new toy to play with. I like the idea, as I said earlier on in the stream, you know, wide receiver ones, especially on their new teams, if last year's an example, they fed DeAndre Hopkins not as much as I thought. He didn't get double-digit targets, but he did make the most of his 9 targets, I believe. 2 touchdowns. He had a great scoring day. I think it was mid-20 something fantasy points. And he could have done more, but I believe the game plan shifted towards the end and they didn't need him as much. They didn't want to risk him as much. So I also hate coaches like that. Like, let the players do their thing. Like, if they're on fire, let them roll. But I understand. So with this strategy in mind, I want to stack him with his toy. Now, something to keep in mind here, some more history. They go back. If I'm not mistaken, they played at Alabama. Yeah. See, there's a lot of photos of them over at, Oklahoma, not Alabama. So they go way back, and there's already articles about it. So there is that perspective of they could ball out too. I like this. And look, we're not using superstars yet. How wonderful. So now, forget the chalk. I'm going to play Kelsey because he's in a good position and he's not a superstar. These other 2 plays is where I will shift and try to leverage away from the field. I have a feeling this is going to be a very popular string of cards. Very popular, very chalky. But that doesn't mean we can't get different elsewhere. So we still have the superstar. Now, this is a fun one. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook. Everyone's looking at Justin Jefferson, and rightfully so. Jamar Chase. We haven't even touched on them because I don't have their cards. I'm staying away from that game week 1 personally. Pittsburgh are divisional champion or divisional opponents, and regardless of how they played last year, I just feel like there'll be a surprise in that game, and it won't go the way people think or want. So I want to stay away from it, and if anything, on certain leagues, I'm playing Pittsburgh's defense, which is going to be a low-owned play, I would imagine. But I digress. Do I want to stack them? No, I want a one-off play here because I think Dalvin Cook is going to go overlooked with all these fancy toys up top, especially Jonathan Taylor or Derrick Henry, right? Jonathan Taylor is in a great spot, but if Matt Ryan shits the bed on his start, and they can't establish the run nor the pass. Like, Matt Ryan likes the play action pass too. So if he's off, chances are Taylor's not going to perform as well as people are expecting him to. So I don't know. It's to me, it's like, we also look at the Vegas lines. It's favoring. There's like a general rule of thumb, 7 to 10 point favorites. You want to target that running back of that team that's favored, right? You do. But I don't know. I'm staying away from this play. I'm going to play a few lineups with them on week 1 DFS, but on Reignmakers, I think I'm going to stay away from this play because I'm already going with these other cards that I believe are going to be very high owned, and that one as well. So Eckler's the thought. Eckler's the thought. Eckler's the thought. Now, Aaron Jones. One could argue that they feed him. Ooh, okay. So this would involve me fading the Las Vegas-Los Angeles game. Like, let's say that ends up being a defensive battle, and it's not a shootout, right? And Devontae Adams gets a modest score. 7 catches, 80 yards, touchdown maybe. What if I just play the running backs, ping pong the running backs from that Green Bay, Minnesota game that, if you remember, there's only a 1-point difference on the game. Well, history shows, and I bet you they want to keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands because he's one-of-a-kind quarterback. Dalvin Cook. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have as many weapons, especially trusted weapons to throw to. Aaron Jones. Also an A.J. Dillon, but I wouldn't mess with A.J. Dillon in the Reignmakers. The Week 1 DFS, if you want to get risky in a GPP, don't use them in cash if you know these terms. If you don't know these terms, drop a comment. Let me know what you want to see moving forward. If you want to see these weekly during the NFL season, I'd be happy to do these videos. I'll do them by popular demand. But I'm kind of liking this play. I think it's sharp, but it's also risky. It's also very, very risky because touchdowns can go to Thielen, Jefferson, and Irv Smith, or even a Madison if they take Cook out near the goal line, which they usually don't, but sometimes they do, to give them a breather, especially if they make it up the field a little too quick. They'll throw Madison in there. But Kamara is also another good one. The game environment doesn't really scream play me. Let's see what the game total is. 43. Opened up at 42. Saints, though, still have green. Projected to score 24 and a quarter points. Now, Jameson Winston, and he's played a full game with Kamara, and they both did very well together. So, I don't know. It's a good call, but I'm trying to win it. And let's say he punches 2 in near the goal line, but also runs for 50, catches a touchdown, and runs for another 30. That's a winning score right there, I would imagine. And it doesn't take much given certain locker room issues there with injuries and people leaving, getting traded. Yeah, I think that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Interesting. Now I could easily play Jefferson though. Right? I have that option now, having my last card being my superstar. Right? And have that correlation. Or I do this. Like this, you don't see this often, I'll be honest. It's not really a winning strategy. It's a great cash game strategy. And here I am talking myself out of it. It's either I play Dalvin Cook with no Aaron Jones and then someone else. Because the more I think about this, Aaron Jones is probably the move, but he's also, rightfully so, going to be probably going to be very popular too. So this last superstar, I feel like it should be a superstar who is going to be overlooked. And who do we think that is? Let's go look at cards I don't own, see if we want to buy one. I mean, unless you're okay, unless the move is not playing a superstar, maybe the superstar is underperformed. Let's go see what the scoring looks like on this contest. This is very similar to just Draftkings DFS in general. I want to look at the superstar. What does that affect the scoring? Yeah. So we're on core level contests, can include NFTs from any rarity level. Superstars. Select group of football players will be designated as superstars. Excuse me. Superstars are designated by an icon next to each such player's name. All right, let's fast forward through this. Maximum of 1. It doesn't really tell us if the scoring is like multiplied. It's weird. Forgive me. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's just making sure that you don't have like a crazy lineup with all these superstars. I don't think it affects the pricing differently. And I'm going to look a little bit more into that, but on a glance, it didn't state anything about giving that player a more multiplier in points. So this is interesting because, you know, most everybody is going to want to use up a superstar, right? Makes the most sense. But maybe you found a combination of players that are not all superstars, but when you put them together, the combination is so unique that nobody else is going to have it. Yet I envision Murray, Aaron Jones, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce, and even Kamara to be popular. But together, would anybody else put this together? Probably not. It's an interesting thought. I'm probably going to use the superstar, but like, this would be the approach of like GPP, right? Like, okay, it tells me I can use a superstar. Let me not use the superstar. Let me get very fucking different. Now, the contest isn't that big, so you don't have to get that different here. But I'm just going down these kind of rabbit holes and explainers because I feel like it's important to share my thoughts. And give me 1 second. We might have a surprise guest from the VeeFriends community here. Yeah, it looks like my phone, it is low on battery, but I know it doesn't, text messages don't always go through. I get a text saying it's been way more than 45 minutes, but I think I was on point. Just text didn't go through. All right. Yeah, let's get back to it. So I think what I'll do is pick, so thinking ceiling too, right? I want the most points. I think Jefferson's the move here. I like this lineup a lot. I do. I also like that Jalen Hurts version of it. And then I also like, so like, let's say we just want to go for as many wide receivers as we can, right? We were pretty much just there, but we had Kelce in there. And Kelce can be treated as a wide receiver too. I want to go for the highest scoring quarterback that I think raw points, Kyler Murray. Let's do a Kamara. Now, new wide receiver on the team. Bam. Show my cards. New wide receiver on the team. Bam. Show my cards. Last but not least, where is it? Do I not have that card? Give me 1 second. Yeah, no, I do. It's up here. Davante Adams, new receiver, new team. I mean, like, fantasy points bonanza right here. There is a little bit of a correlation, but I didn't intend on this. What I was doing was just picking the raw points here. Now, Lamar Jackson, I don't think people are going to own that card as much. It's an interesting thing, but then I have to sacrifice Davante Adams here in this game format. So this is also an interesting one. Very interesting. This is craziness. And you would see stacks like this in DFS back in the day with Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell. That trio, the triple Bs, holy smokes. There were certain weeks where that was the optimal quarterback, running back, wide receiver stack, which you generally don't want to run because there's not too much correlation. But that trio in particular did well together when they were together. But that's in the past, right? But like, this is something I would do in a bigger field. with more competition to try to differentiate myself. I wouldn't do it here. I don't think it's the best move. I don't think it's the best move. But then a Josh Jacobs can come through and surprise everybody too. We can all be looking at this new toy. And the move could be, well, maybe he does great with yards and catches, but maybe he doesn't score any touchdowns on game one. Maybe Josh Jacobs just punches it in each time that he catches it inside the 5. Right? I don't know. A lot of things to think about week 1. And I hope this has been helpful for everybody. Give it a few more minutes. I'm going to build one more here for us with the cards that I have. Let's say I want to do something a little different. Let's go with Lamar Jackson. Do I have any wide receivers to pair him up with? Oh, I do have a Bateman. Bateman's interesting. He slides in as the new assumed WR1 with Hollywood Brown going to Arizona. That could be a very, very interesting low-owned stack of cards right there. And then we run it back with just tried and true bread and butter. Bam. Something like that. That's unique, but also chalky, but also unique. Little bit of correlation. And then these are one-offs. When you hear the word one-off in DFS, you're picking a player with no correlation. It's a one-off, right? So there's nobody else in my lineup in this game that's correlated to him. Same with here and same here. 3 one-offs. Now, the move might be to just pick the one-offs that you think are going to score the most points, right? Maybe getting rid of that stacking idea. Like, let's go back to it and let's rock this just a little bit differently. Just a little bit differently. Okay. Let's rock him. And then AJ Brown, Marquise Brown. AJ Brown, Marquise Brown. AJ Brown or Pittman. Now, he's going to be very chalky in DFS week 1. He might be chalky in this too. I don't know. I don't think so because we're not working with salaries here. But he could also not perform as well as expected. I like AJ Brown against Detroit. Just tutties, one-offs. These are all one-offs, right? Yeah. One-off, 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 one-off. No correlation with one another whatsoever. But each person has a path to being the highest scoring person on their team. AJ Brown being the favorite new target, getting all the tutties. And you would hope that Jalen Hurts isn't stealing tutties from his running backs. That would put AJ Brown towards the top of the scoring in that position. Kamara would have to have a great game, which he can. He's a fucking beast. And I was doing a little research on him before this season. I did my research very late this season. Apparently he's more explosive and he's faster than he has been before. That's fucking bonkers. So if that's true, he's a great play this week. Travis Kelce is Travis Kelce. He might as well be a wide receiver. Shocked he's not a superstar. Aaron Jones, opportunity, 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 volume, volume, volume. Lack of weapons for Aaron Rodgers to trust and throw to. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Green Bay running a lot of dual RB sets where one running back lines up outside or in the slot. AJ Dillon can catch some passes. Although he's a little bigger. Aaron Jones is the one who can catch the patches. Like he's made some beautiful catches in the past. He's won me some smaller field tournaments. He's also lost me some. So I think that's solid. We might do another one of these if Jeremy wants to hop on. But I think that was solid. What's up, Zen? Now, for anybody watching, any questions? Do you want to see me maybe approach a different strategy or method? Or you want to ask me a question about a player? Still doing my research, full transparency, but I've done a bulk of it for the week. And I cannot reiterate enough, week 1 is a gamble. Just as we learned Thursday. I didn't get to watch the game. I'm not mad at it. We did an awesome episode. New format here on BitmonkeyTV on Thursdays, long form. But we're going to be moving those episodes earlier on in the day so that all of us football fans can catch that Thursday night football. And then when I move back to Portugal, it's going to work perfectly with the schedule where the time's going to stay the same no matter what country I'm in. So we can keep the show rocking every Thursday, same time. So stay tuned for more announcements on that front. But if there's no questions, I think this is a great place to wrap it up. So let's summarize a few things. Let's make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk about. We talked about games to target. Some random notes. Patrick Mahomes, like if you're thinking about stacking him with anybody, he's one of those unique quarterbacks where you don't need to stack him with a pass catcher to benefit. I know Kelsey's usually the go-to, but sometimes it's not always the most optimal and high-scoring combination. He spreads the ball around so much. Like if you just want to rock Patrick Mahomes as your superstar, you can, and have peace of mind knowing that even if he throws 6 touchdowns, or sorry, that's a little bit much, 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, that you still benefit from them and you don't have to hit on the other receiver. You just have to pick another receiver from another game on the same slate that outperforms his receivers, right? That approach was utilized quite a bit last season. I didn't play as much this past year and a half, but I did keep an eye. I did stay in tune with everything so that it wasn't as difficult to jump back in, right? I just wasn't interested in doing this given my doggo's cancer at that time. So RIP Optimal. But without squirrel ado. That was really my only note, if anybody had that question. We talked about stacking. We talked about leverage, conviction. And yeah, this has been another episode of BitmonkeyTV. If you're new here, we primarily talk Web3, crypto, NFTs, how-tos, what is. We also do POAPs with prizes. So if you're new here, let me know. We'll let you know how to get this POAP. But if you are a returning viewer, I'm going to open up that Discord right now. The secret word for today is VeeFriends Draftkings Reignmaker League, followed by your public wallet address. And we'll airdrop you that POAP. I'm going to open up that channel in the Discord for the next 5 minutes. So go ahead and take advantage of that one. And we're going to be dropping the raffle here pretty soon. You know, we're not in a major rush because I want to add a few prizes to it. But we got a few hardware wallets. I mean, the prize pool is upwards of like $750, if not 1,000 at this point in prizes. And all you got to do is hold a POAP and hit the raffle to qualify. So all right, give me a second. I know it's late for Gary. I don't think he's on the other side. Send messages. Should be good to post for the next 5 minutes. I'm going to set a 5-minute timer. If you'd like to see me make more of these videos, maybe you're just tuning in towards the end of this, I highly recommend rewatch it. You might want to do 1.5x because I talk a little slow and I do a lot of pauses on this one. This is my first piece of content like this around DFS. And I'm excited to do more. So let me know if you want to see me do one for each week of this VeeFriends Draftkings Reignmaker League. And I'll make it happen. So much love. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you found any value at all, please don't forget to share. Hit that bell, that subscribe, like, share. And I appreciate you. Until next time. Peace. And we have some bars here. or some blocks